Coming up, John Cena shoots on John Cena, and also WWE's future, another WWE star's contract is up soon, and so much more. So give that old subscribe button a slap and I'll show you the cat. Hang on, I've already shown you the cat, so why are you going to subscribe? Subscribe and I'll show you the cat again. There you go. There he is.
Support WrestleTalk!
If you've been watching WWE recently, poor you would know that John Cena no longer sucks. Turns out being very funny and popular in films has really proven to be the cure for Cena fatigue in all the fans' eyes. Hollywood John's homecoming to the WWE universe sparked a sort of spate of part-timer returns to the company to set up matches for SummerSlam, as after Cena laid down the challenge for Roman Reigns' Universal Championship, Goldberg also returned to challenge Bobby Lashley for the WWE Championship. And any old armchair wrestling expert will tell you that WWE leaning heavily on aging acts and prioritising them for big shows over younger, newer talent could come to bite them in the arse when Goldberg needs help headbutting a locker. And you know it's bad when even John Cena himself has noticed, in a surprising act of self-reflection coming from a man who probably can't see himself in a mirror. Not because he's like a vampire, but because he's a John Cena. In an interview with USA Today to promote Suicide Squad, he said, "Man, I wish there was some sort of fountain of youth where I could be a full-time contributor. The longer they continue to bet on an aging prospect, that makes WWE's future a little bit less stable." Maybe that's why Ric Flair got released. Anyway, Cena's point stands though, that constantly helicoptering in Hall of Famers and part-time stars to make up for the lack of fresh, homegrown talent is not going to help you out when someone like Cena is in his 60s, or even when he's just away filming Suicide Squad 2. Also likely not helping is WWE's seeming inability to keep track of whose contract is coming up soon, as proven by the reports that Adam Cole could be on his way out after SummerSlam, as his NXT contract is said to have already expired and he's only hanging on until then because he agreed to a short-term extension. Well, from this new report, they done effed up again. And that joke is really only going to land for people with the subs on, because according to Fightful Select, Pete Dunne's contract is also coming up soon. How does he feel about it? According to the report, one source claimed that the Bruiserweight's contract expiration date would be after SummerSlam weekend, though that timing has neither been confirmed with WWE or with Dunne. Fightful said the situation was similar to that of Adam Cole's, but no additional details were given, so I kind of guess that could either mean that his contract came up and he's working with a short-term extension, or just looping the whole thing into the Canyon Ceman debacle, the senior director of talent development that WWE fired for apparently no reason whatsoever, and definitely not allegedly because of not paying attention to when people's contracts were up. Definitely not allegedly. Now, whether Dunne will stay in WWE or move on to pastures new remains to be seen, but unlike Adam Cole, the former longest reigning NXT UK champion hasn't exactly done it all in NXT quite yet. But like Cole, I think Triple H is going to be making a big old play for Dunne to stay, as he is one of the favourite sons of the game. What do you think is going to happen with Pete Dunne? Will he stay with WWE or will he be moving on elsewhere? Let me know in the comments, because I will be replying. Before we move on, we just need to thank Zarjeff and the British Bulldog Philip Boy J. Smith Jr. for their support on Patreon. It's never been a better time to become a pledge hammer. Now, while Triple H's NXT babies hold a very special place in his heart, Vince McMahon views the brand as the black and gold sheep of the WWE family, or more likely the sort of ugly troglodyte son who shouldn't be allowed to see the light of day. Get back in your cave! But maybe that's just because Vince refuses to invest any time, love or attention in the show. Some might argue that he actively hates it. Not me though. Hate is a form of emotion and could be argued as a form of caring at something. That's not what Vince is doing. If you would like an example of how Vince has little to no interest in NXT, just ask the former Bollywood boys Gurv and Harv, formerly Sunil and Samir Singh. They were chatting with Wrestling Inc. about their time in the company, much of it spent in NXT or on 205 Live, which filmed back-to-back with NXT for a very long time. They said of their interactions with Vince, we would mostly see him in gorilla position after we would do our segment and get a thumbs up from the boss. Sometimes not being called over is a good thing. Anything you can just walk back and get the thumbs up, no news is good news, just go about your business. Our interactions were very limited, but when we did talk to him, they were all very positive. He's a busy man, you can only make time for so many. However, this was seemingly referencing their time teamed with Jinder Mahal on the main roster, as when asked whether Vince showed up for any NXT tapings or takeovers, they said never. I mean, he's really missing out. He's really Not so much recently, but he was really missing out. Or is he? Because Vince just waits for people to pass developmental on their way up to the main roster, where he can 50-50 book them to guaranteed superstardom and then call up John Cena. One name in the firing line for this grim fate and hoping to dodge it is Davey Boy Smith Jr., the son of the British Bulldog, who was spotted taking part in a dark match before the July 16th episode of SmackDown alongside Austin Theory. Now, this was Smith's first WWE match since 2011, and according to PW Insider Have More of a Scoop, Smith has not actually yet been assigned to Raw, SmackDown or NXT. But the Canadian star reportedly signed with WWE months ago. The company were trying to keep his deal quiet until the time was right for him to officially return. Now, another report also suggested that Smith was NXT UK bound to set up a feud with Walter, but the pandemic put the kibosh on those plans. And now joining Smith in brand limbo is former NXT UK Women's Champion Kaylee Ray, who according to PW Insider has been spotted at the Performance Center in Orlando this week. There's no word yet on whether Ray will be making an appearance for the US NXT, or is gearing up for a main roster run, or is at the PC for another reason. Ray has wrestled for the stateside NXT show before, though, teaming up with Team Baszler for the Women's War Games match in 2019. But Davey Boy and Kaylee aren't the only wrestlers who have been spotted out and about recently, as a former WWE star and a former Impact star were both spotted backstage at AEW Dynamite Homecoming on Wednesday night. As the show returned to Daly's Place, but with lots of lovely fans in attendance this time, back behind the curtains was one former WWE Cruiserweight champion, Tony Nese, at least according to Bodyslam.net. Now, Nese, a 205 Live mainstay during his time at WWE, was released at the end of June, and if those contracts are like NXT contracts, he'd be able to start wrestling for other companies right about now, as NXT contracts actually reportedly only come with a 30-day non-compete clause, as evidenced by Malachi Black. Also backstage was former Impact Knockout Tag Team Champion Kiera Hogan, who announced last month that she was leaving the promotion in order to see what else was out there for her. Now, it remains to be seen what comes of all this for these two, but AEW is soon going to have plenty of shows for them to appear on. Dark Elevation, Dynamite, Rampage. So that sounds like the lineup for Download Festival. This week also brought the sad news that wrestling legend Bobby Eaton has passed away at the age of 62. Now, his sister announced the news on Facebook in a post saying, "I never wanted to have to post this, but my little brother, beautiful Bobby Eaton, passed away last night. When I find out all of the details, I will post them. Bobby was the kindest, loving person you would ever meet. I loved him so much and I'm going to miss him. Please say a prayer for my niece Taryn. She found him and she just lost her mother a little over a month ago." Now, Eaton was most well known for being one half of the Midnight Express alongside Dennis Condrey and later Stan Lane under the management of Jim Cornette. And the tragic news shocked the wrestling world and prompted an outpouring of love and admiration from Eaton from the likes of contemporaries like Ric Flair, who tweeted, "So sad and sorry to hear about my close friend and one of the all-time greats, Bobby Eaton. Beautiful Bobby and the Midnight Express were one of the greatest tag teams in the history of the business. Rest in peace." While stars from later eras like Edge and Samoa Joe remembered him as a master of the craft, someone to learn from, and a kind person. If you study pro wrestling with any true attention, you've studied Bobby Eaton and understand just how special he was in the ring. "Every time I encountered him outside of it, he was an even better person," said Edge. Now, in the aftermath, a GoFundMe was set up to help cover funeral costs, and a special memorial t-shirt was released by Collar and Elbow, with all proceeds going to the family, so look out for them if you want to help out. Everyone here at WrestleTalk would like to extend our condolences to Bobby's family and friends. Stay strong, everyone. I hope you're doing okay.
Last night's Homecoming special episode of Dynamite not only saw the in-ring AEW debut of Malachi Black, who squashed Cody Rhodes in under 5 minutes, winning with just one foot on his chest, but also a teased retirement for Rhodes himself.